Is they lead it 23-3 over the Minnesota Vikings. And I don't know where you want to start, Bob, but my big takeaway is this team is crushing it on third down.
Yeah, absolutely. Great on third down, and 5 for 5 on possessions with points. That's pretty good. That's going to win a lot of games. And so, the way the offense is controlling the game is great. And then you add in the pass rush, which is, I thought kind of missing against Green Bay, partly because Green Bay played a game that did not allow you to sort of pin your ears back. It looks like the Vikings.
They're inviting it. They've only ran the ball 9 times so far, and they've been somewhat effective when they've run the ball. But now that they've fallen behind, it feels like Kevin O'Connell says, "Screw it, we're gonna let our quarterback try his best," and he looks rattled. And I think as we were watching the game in the first half, you mentioned his eyes are now down towards the pass rush instead of staying downfield.
Yeah, he doesn't trust his line. Christian Darrisaw has left the game, the left tackle, and he's very good for them. They got 2 good tackles, but guard, center guard, they're pretty ordinary. So now you take out the left tackle and you put in a very ordinary backup left tackle. And, once again, left tackle all the way to right guard, they're pretty spare. The Cowboys should be able to continue to get pressure. And as it ramps up and you become a one-dimensional offense, that should allow for, what do they got, 3 sacks in the first half. That should allow for 2 or 3 more.
2 are from Parsons.
Yeah.
Who's lining up everywhere.
And Parsons had a third one. He just didn't know that Cousins still had the ball. Yeah. So you look at all that and you just walk away very impressed with this first half and this response. That's what we wanted to talk about all week long is, okay, you lost a game. You can't let it beat you twice. This is a vital time in the schedule. It's statement game Sunday in Minnesota. Can you go out there and actually do something about it? And doggone, you could not draw up a better first half than this.
And he took a level of criticism after the Green Bay loss because of a couple of interceptions that led to touchdowns against the Packers. I think Dak has come back nicely in this first half. Obviously not trying to do too much, but 14 of 16, very sharp. And that play he threw to CeeDee Lamb on the deep pass down the right sideline on the run was a freaking laser. That was the best pass he's thrown so far this season.
Yeah, and let's add to that, Sean, with 249 yards of offense, which exceeds their yardage total for several of those games that are in the early season with Cooper Rush out there. You get that in the first half. They're running the ball well. Pollard's a star. And like you said, Prescott's on the money. In fact, he's 15 of 17. And you could argue even the one he missed on, Schultz probably should have come up with it in the end zone. And then, maybe we're getting greedy, but then it's 27-3 at the half, hypothetically.
And just the execution at the point of attack, and you want to, talk about what the interior of the offensive line is doing. It's obviously big on all those third and short runs, but even Dalton Schultz executing a great block out in space to spring Tony Pollard for the touchdown he caught on just a little swing pass. I mean, that was about as good as it gets for a dude blocking out in space.
Yeah, and, that was great. Pollard hits the turbo. He's 10 for 57 on the ground, and then he's got a 30-yard touchdown catch. So he's darn near at 100 yards from scrimmage already. And then Zeke has been pretty good in converting third downs. He's been the hammer. So really, if you were to look for something real negative to complain about for the Cowboys' first half, I'm fairly hard-pressed to come up with it. I'm not sure I've seen a better half of football this season.
And as far as the things we talked about heading into this one that really gave you a lot of pause and concern, that's what the secondary who got burned last week is going to do against all these weapons, namely Justin Jefferson. Diggs has been following him throughout the game today, which I think is a smart thing. And there's been some times where he's maybe playing off to not get beat, but now they're up by 3 scores now. So you're probably going to see more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Early downs, you want to be careful. You don't want to let anybody behind you, so you're going to play a little softer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, I go back to what makes this Cowboys defense a problem is not anything too special. It's 4 guys getting to the quarterback without a blitz. And so the Cowboys have blitzed a couple times today. But in those blitzes, there has not been a ton of pressure. The pressure has come in the 4-man rush, pass rush situations. And what that, of course, does is it allows 7 guys back into coverage, less space for Thielen, less space for Hawkinson and Jefferson. And now with 4 guys, you go whip their 5, and get to Cousins and get him rattled, and now he sees nobody's open, so he's got to hold the ball. It all feeds into each other, and we should know this because this is how the 49ers took down the Cowboys last year in the playoffs, and it's kind of been the battle cry of the entire offseason of how the Cowboys wanted to get things done is to figure out a way to get a four-man pass rush, and, whether it's Dorrance Armstrong or DeMarcus Lawrence or Dante Fowler or Sam Williams, guys are joining Micah Parsons.
Right.
Parsons is obviously the alpha here. But there's enough help and enough dangerous guys who can feed off that overall, you just walk away saying, okay, if this is the type of effort you're capable of, then you can beat anybody on your schedule. And bygones are bygones. Last week happened. It's over. For them to respond like this, if they can finish this game, and I assume they can, up 20, but if they can, they have to feel great going into Thanksgiving.
And I know it's not, it's pretty obvious because we just saw it at the end of the half, but the fact Dallas didn't just say, we're up 20-3, let's just pack it in here, do a couple runs, and just go to the break because we get the ball in the second half.
Right.
The fact that they were able to string together enough plays to go get extra points to put that much more pressure on a Minnesota offense that still has playmakers that still could very well get back in this game. If you can go score on this opening drive of the second half, like crazy things happen in the NFL. Obviously, Minnesota's they have the comeback gene in them, but if you could put this game away in the next 10, 12 minutes.
Yeah, and, it might even be one of those situations where you can just continue to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. They have got 20 minutes of possession out of the 30.
Almost 2-1.
And then they're going to get the ball to start the second half, and if you can put one of those 6, 7, 8-minute drives together, the entire life will be out of that stadium, and maybe you can make quick work of them in the second half. That's great stuff.
It's such a good lesson of just don't get too emotional one way or the other with the NFL, because last week, obviously, we're wondering how the Cowboys could win a game again, and then they just control in the first half. And
trust your guys.
Yeah, they're still a really good, talented team and a really good defense, and they're showing it, which is heartening.
Yep, and this is the point in last season where things collapsed in Kansas City.
Right.
So what a great contrast in how much they've learned in a year.
The Giants lost a game today. Philly had to work. So, Dallas, if they can continue playing well, they'll be tied for second place in the NFC East. So as soon as this game's over, Bob is going to be joined by Donovan and Jake.